Hey, everybody. Welcome to John's Dungeon Corner here at the Collective in Altamonte Springs, Florida. I'm so glad that you can be with me. I'm so glad that I can be with you. Hopefully, your adventuring day is not all wet like it is here, depending on where you are. But I'm probably, if you're in Florida, you're wet. Anyway, so today's show. Notice it's kind of simple. I got my buddy Bob here with me. He's hanging out. and we just finished a dungeon delve. In fact, talking about dungeon delves, on Saturday, I want to thank everybody who came out to the Collective on Saturday and participated in our first ever crypt crawl. That was a lot of fun. We had a great time. The adventuring parties that went through made it all the way to the end. Some of them a little easier than others. Some of their comrades got beat up quite a bit along the way. But it was a lot of fun had by all. And we want to thank everybody who came out. We're probably, Brendan and I've been talking, we're probably going to do another one, say sometime next year, first quarter or so. Try to do maybe 2 or 3 of those a year. They seem to have a lot of fun, the players did. And congratulations to everybody because you survived. And surviving, everybody always asks, hey, how do I win at Dungeons and Dragons? You survive, you live. Anyway, it's not like Monopoly that once you sit there and you get enough money and properties, you win because everybody else goes bankrupt. Here in Dungeons & Dragons, if you sit there and you live, you won. Anyway, so today's topic, we are going to talk about, in fact, I'm going to sit here. If you don't mind, I'm going to have a seat right here and chat with you for a little bit. So today's topic is going to be about the party, both from the player's point of view and from the Dungeon Master's point of view. All right. So first off, hey, William, how are you? Good to see you. Hopefully the weather's a lot nicer than it is down here. It is pouring down rain. In case those of you are wondering, when William pops up there, he is the creator of the Glenfallow series. And this is the Death Comes to Glenfallow. By the way, William, we only have one left. This is it. One of the gentlemen that attended. It's 28 degrees. Oh, no, it's too. I'm going to send you some warmth up there. It's too cold. Way too cold. But this is the Death Comes to Glenfallow. And it's his module. So there's only one copy left. So you better get it while the getting's good. And we'll have to order some more here. But hey, you better get it when the getting's good. Yeah. So in case anybody's wondering, William's up north in the frigid cold. It's 20 degrees in the morning. So it'll probably warm up to maybe what? 50, 52? I'll pass. As Dungeon Master, I say pass. So anyway, let's talk about the party. From the point of view, first, let's talk about the players. Okay. Let's talk about beginning players or a majority of beginning players in a party. So you want a good, 58 this afternoon up north. Ooh, brr. No. And we can play. If it gets 58 here, everybody starts to freeze, William. You'll see parkas out here. Parkas, I tell you. But you think we're doing an expedition to the frozen north? Oh, but okay. So the party, when you got a beginning group, or you have most of your players haven't started, I always suggest to them to try to make as well-rounded as a party as possible. And what does that mean? What does well-rounded mean? Because there's so many classes. And unless you had like 12, 13 different players, you wouldn't be able to get every class in there. Nor would you want every class. Well-rounded. Okay, so you want to have somebody who can take a beating and dish out a beating. Okay, and that falls within the realm of plenty of the classes. I mean, you got your 3 big heavy hitters: your fighter, your barbarian, and your paladin. Okay, so you have your fighter, your barbarian, your paladin. Those guys hit hard. They can take a beating. Their hit points are good. Their armor classes are good. Then you've got your healing. You're gonna get hit. I mean, that's all there is to it. No matter how good, no matter how much armor, no matter how fast you are, you're gonna get hit. So you're probably gonna want somebody who can heal. Clerics are awesome at that. In fact, they dominate in that class. Your paladin it has the ability to heal later on and always has the lay on the hands. Although not a great healer, he is a good healer. They are a good healer. The druid has access to great curative magic also and helpful magic. So there you go. Then you always want to have some kind of arcane caster, I say. I like to say that because sometimes you're going to run into crowds. And in 5e, they did a great service to everybody who casts magic. You've always got the cantrip that does damage. So you're always going to be able to participate in combat no matter what. But as these characters go up, you're going to notice that their spells become more and more and more area of effect, more damage to a singular target. So it's good. Okay. Having a caster, whether it's a warlock, a sorcerer, a wizard, those are your three primary arcane casters. And it's nice to have them. They're really good. Then you've got the bard. The bard is a jack of all trades. They're a wonderful class. They know history. Depending on how you play your bard, you can be a great support. You can also fight pretty well. You have magic. So you're good at a lot of things. Okay, so as the monk, a little bit more specialized, hand-to-hand combat specialist. Now, there are variations of all these classes, and some are, you could always argue that one is better than the other, but I say try them and feel and play what's more comfortable for you. The rogue, let's not forget about the rogue, my favorite class. I mean, this is the person who's going to go out, they're going to find your traps, they're going to unlock the chests, they're going to find the secret doors, they're going to be able to do a lot of the stealth type things that you need in encounters to overcome obstacles that you may otherwise just have to break through, make a lot of noise at. He's a great infiltrator. So it's a lot of things and he is pretty good at fighting, whether from a range or in a backstab. They depending on which way they go with their subclass, they can learn some magic. So they're pretty adept at things. Okay. If there's a class I forgot, well, I just forgot. Oh, the Ranger. I'm sorry, the Ranger. Ranger is another multi-purpose kind of character. Really good whether at range or in melee combat. Does learn spells along the way. Very stealthy in the woods. Very unique type of character, depending on how you play him. I've seen him played as an amazing archer type character, like a Robin Hood almost, that can still fight with a melee weapon. And then I've seen him more like a who would I think? Who am I thinking of? Well, more like a Drizzt Do'Urden, who really most of his fighting is done with with sword and his twin scimitars. Although his bow is amazing too. So, I mean, he's the quintessential ranger. So there you have it. How you build your party, I would build it with a little bit of everything. I'd build a little bit of melee. I definitely have some support, magic, and especially some healing. I would definitely have a rogue or a bard. They can both kind of intermix there. I like the rogue over the bards. If I wanted to go with a stealth specialist, the bard more as a supportive type character. Although, as I said, I've played both. I like my bard to be like a know-it-all. I try to learn as much as possible. I like to crank up my history and those kinds of things. I like to know a lot of languages, that kind of thing. That's my idea of the bard. Although, like I said, with all the different all the different schools that the bard can attend, he also can branch out into the melee and all kinds of things there. So, which brings me to my next point. Going up in levels, players get the idea of, hey, I am going to multi-class. And that's great. That's a good thing. Once again, with everything, the Dungeon Master has the last word on that. As far as I go as a Dungeon Master, I think it depends on who it is. I think I talked about this, who it is that's trying to multi-class their character and how comfortable I feel with them being able to run the character. Because a brand new player wants to multi-class into something and they haven't really got the basics down of their initial class. And I don't mean just their class. I'm talking about like the mechanics, how to understand their character sheet and what does what, initiative, attacks, this guy. Once they get comfortable, I think, with the basics, then I think that, yes, branching out and creating a multi-class character is possible down the road. I'd usually like to see them at least get to like, I'd say probably about 5th or 6th level, right before they get their next ability increase or whatever it is they're going to do at 8th level, somewhere between like 5 and 7. I'd like to see them developed into where they're comfortable with their character and with the mechanics of the game, and then sure, let's go ahead and let them multi-class and try something else. It's better. It's easier that way to let them try another class than to create a whole nother character and kind of step in with that character because they don't feel comfortable with the character. You kind of let them try it, and it's like, try it, you'll like it kind of thing. And if they don't, well, then we can kind of, you're the dungeon master. You can pretty much change things around to fit your game. Now, number of, that's a question that I got asked last week at the dungeon crawl, at the crypt crawl. How many players? Well, we ran it with 5. We had 5 different classes. We had a fighter, a rogue, a bard, a wizard, and a cleric. And it was an abridged version of Dungeons & Dragons, but we had a nice party composition there, and it seemed to work well. So how many? There's no real number that's magical. I've run one-on-one sessions. I've been a player in a one-on-one session, like a little offshoot when nobody else can make it. But I showed up, and the Dungeon Master said, hey, we'll just run a little something based off of your history. And we did. We did a little side quest. We played for like 2 or 3 hours. It was a lot of fun. And it's happened more than once, but I'm just saying, it's a nice, memorable experience. Even if there's 2 players, 3 players, the Dungeon Master can always tone down the game to what he has in front of him. Sometimes he won't, and you really have a hard time. And you may not be able to complete it. You may have to wait for the group, but that's completely up to you and the Dungeon Master. So as far as a group, I'd say 4 to 6. 4 to 6 varied, a diverse group with just the right amount of classes. I mean, you're not going to have every class in there, but you could with 6 players, let's say, you could put 2 fighter types, 2 melee types, a support, an arcane, a rogue, and a healer. That's a nice little group there. They have good staying power. They have good punch. Nowadays the cleric is, let's go to battle first and heal second. It's kind of like the reverse of the what do you call it? The 3.5 version. So where it was, let's heal, and if we have to go into combat, we will. They were always usually the back line, that second line, so they could keep everybody healed. But now things are a little different. Things move a little quicker. We find that the clerics have become like a frontline fighter. They've become a frontline fighter, so it's good. What I was going to get? So now let's kind of flip that around and say, hey, well, we all want to play. There's 10 of us that want to play, and that gets a little more difficult, especially if you have a mixed crowd, because some of the players will be knowledgeable of how to go things, and the others will slow it down. So unless you're ready to be able to be patient, that's the magic word, patient. In a big group, I would say stay away from anything above 6, maybe 7 characters. I've dungeon mastered, like I said, from 1, and I think I've had here about 15 players at one time. And I can tell you, yes, I kept them entertained, but the rounds take a while to do depending on what level of playing they're at. And I'm patient, but I know that it's hard for some players to be able to deal with that. And you don't want players getting a bad taste in their mouth and say, oh, wow, this is boring. I got to sit here and wait, half an hour, 20 minutes to take a turn, and then I have to wait another, So you want to keep everybody involved. So that's why the smaller group works out good. Now at home, we play, we have a good time. I have 10 players, 3 of them on Zoom, 7 are live. Sometimes I have 9 live, 8 live, 2 on Zoom. So we take our time, we play. There's a lot of role playing involved, so everybody's kind of jumping in. And sometimes there's discussions going on over here between the players as to what they want to do, and I'll have a discussion going on over here with players because they're working on a contract, and the players over there are trying to figure out what they need. So they're going over lists and stuff and talking back and forth. So, and that's okay. Hello, love. Yes. We have the Dracolich over here, right there. He's helping me out, whispering in my ear this year. So, yes, my lovely wife has come on. And so now, Dungeon Masters, back to you. I know that sometimes you want that big group and you want to grab them all and you want to run this huge. But remember that, hi, Sarah. Good to see you. And I would advise against going up unless you have a group that understands, hey, this is not going to be a fast-paced game. We're going to have fun. We're going to do some role-playing. Yeah, there's going to be combat, and if you do have a big group, because I do. I have the 10 players, as I've said. And what I tell them is, okay, so here's the initiative order. Okay, go. And they have about a minute each. So that way, and sometimes it takes a little bit more. Some of them it's just a matter of I hit, here's my damage, move along, and that's all they wanted to do. Sometimes it's a little bit more intricate than that. The rogue is going over there trying to work on the trap while combat's going on. He's trying to check this for secret doors, whatever. So you got different things that are going on. You may just have to make rolls and kind of let them sit there, and that's something that you can do too. If you know the rogue is going to do something, I will roll sometimes and let the die sit there. And he'll make his roll, and if he fails, let's say finding the trap and the trap goes off, I've already rolled to see if it's something that needs to hit him or not. So those are some of the things that you got to think about a little earlier. If you're going to have a big group, you got to kind of be on top of it. And sometimes it's not easy. I'm not going to tell you, even with all the experience that someone can have, you will still run into situations where you're like, whoa, I got to slow this down and really pay attention to what's going on right here. And it'll slow things out. It will. That's just the way it is. You got 10 players, 1 DM. I've even had 2 DMs before, which is really neat because you can kind of set off, okay, well, you guys are fighting these guys here, and you guys are fighting. So we split it up and we do the combat, and at the end we kind of put it all back together, and that's one way of doing it. So there are ways around it. It just takes more people. If you have 2 or 3 DMs, hey, that's awesome because you can do all kinds of wonderful role playing with that. But that's easier said than done. Okay. Nor will the story sometimes go in the same direction because you may be approaching a story from this direction and all of a sudden it goes off there and you just got to be able to vibe with that and go along with that. But going back to, I don't think that anything above 7 is really practical for a good session. And let's talk about sessions. All right. So there's all kinds of sessions, but I like to break them down into a few. So the first one is that let's get together. Let's have what I call a session. So we're going to play for the next 2 to 3 hours, and we're going to run this quick little something I put together just because we want to get together and have some fun. Okay? That's just, hey, let's get together and do something. Then there's the organized play, which is, hey, listen, on Wednesday night, we're going to have 4 Dungeon Masters here at the Collective. Now, this is just an example. This isn't what's going to happen. I'm just giving you an example. We're going to have 4 game masters here, Dungeon Masters, and we're going to run 4 different adventures for beginners and experienced players alike. Come on down, be prepared to spend 2 to 4 hours, and we're going to go. It's going to run from this time to this time, and there's a session from this time to this time. That's organized play, all right? Because there's a time frame, a number of players, and X amount of games going on. Okay. Then you have what I like to call the campaign, which is the ultimate. And that's something that's played over a long time. It's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to happen in a month. It won't even happen in a year usually. I played in a campaign that was almost 4 years long. So there you have it. The campaign that I'm running now is what I like to call an epic campaign. It's going to go on until whenever. There will be no upper limits to the, because it's going somewhere. It's going to have an epic conclusion. Here's a funny thing. This is just my opinion. Dungeons & Dragons, when you look at the books, 20th level is the maxed out level. That's not where the game ends, folks. It's not. We've had campaigns, and I'm sure all of you have, where you've had character levels of 30 plus. I had a 47th level rogue once, who wasn't even the highest level in the highest level character in the party. Okay, and what were you're saying? Well, what are you fighting at that point? Well, how about Ancient Red Dragons, or how about Demogorgon, or Asmodeus, or Orcus? I mean, there's always somebody who's been kidnapped, someone who's been imprisoned, someone who needs to be released from the nine hells. There's always a cult running around. There are epic level adventures that you can go on. You just have to have someone who will run that epic level and willing to participate in that kind of an epic level. And you can just keep the same structure. I mean, if you look at the books, the tables, you can pretty much look at the table and go, here's the algorithm, or here's the chain of numbers that they use in order to keep going up, and just go with it. You're the game master. You can do whatever you want. Remember, like Gary and Ernie once said, these are just guidelines for you to use. Then use them. You want an epic level? You want that confrontation of 100,000 orcs against humanity? Then do it. Make it happen. There's combat systems for that too. And if not, chat with me sometime and I'll kind of explain some of the epic systems that you can use for full armies. Anyway, but that's kind of going off the beaten path there. So, game masters, remember, the books are just guidelines. I say that all the time. These are just guidelines because if a player comes up with something really neat that they want to do, it's probably not going to be in the rules. And it might be, or there might be something that might touch on it. Just make a decision. And just remember, every decision does not, because you did it for him, you have to do it. No, circumstances, backgrounds. This is why my players will tell you, I have backgrounds on all my players. And I know what's going on behind the scenes before they ever decide to become an adventurer. I know what it was like for them as a kid. I know what it was like for them growing up. I know. Why? Because I have it in black and white in front of me across 2 pages. Some are 3 and 4 and 5. Some are like more than that. And I'll leave it at that. They're very detailed, and I can go in there and I can pull stuff out and say, okay, yeah, you know what? That doesn't sound so far-fetched because of her background or his background. We can do this. Sure. Your character, this. Whatever this may be. It sounds good. My character wants to learn to this. And you go and, you look at that background and say, you know what? He detailed that his mother was a priestess of Bahamut. Okay, I can see that. Boom. And sometimes they just come up with something crazy out of the blue. And you may go, that's kind of cool for the campaign. Sure. So there's a lot of reasons to say yes. And there's really, the reason what I'm going to say is there's only one reason to say no, primarily. And that's because it really won't fit the campaign and the character. There are certain things that you should never allow in your character, in your campaign. It would just be off balancing. Or it just doesn't fit the game. It doesn't fit the character. It doesn't fit the whole party. Because remember, you have a party. You have a definitive group there that is meshing, and you want them to keep meshing. And sometimes when you imbalance one part of it, it's like, then everybody else has to make up for it. And my last thing that I wanted to talk about before I sign off, players. It's awesome because I'm a player. And I used to love, I think it's a cool thing. You always want to maximize your character. You want to min and max them at the beginning. You want to power them up as much as possible. You want them to be that demigod hero. Remember, the harder you make it, the more and more you stack onto your character, the more and more you make this character more into a demigod than a hero. I love heroes. I love epic heroes. I don't like demigods. And I'll tell you why. They elevate the game to such a level that now not everybody may be at the same level, but you've got to elevate the monsters to that level also in order to provide a challenge. And this is where a lot of campaigns will go wrong. And it's a dual thing. Dungeon masters, you don't want it to get there, and players, you don't want to push the envelope to get it there, because then if not everybody's at the same level, then you've got a mixed match when you do present this creature that's here. There's one character that's here. You want to present a challenge to him, but everybody else is down here. So on a scale of 1 to 10, this character's at a 9. The most party is averaged at 6.5, at 7, let's say. And now you're putting a level 10 And I'm just kind of like throwing these out as 1 through 10. The actual CRs go up to 20, I believe, or higher. You don't want to do that, because what's going to happen is if that level 9, that level 9 character, that tier 9 character goes down, all those tier 7s are not going to have to deal with Mr. tier 10 monster, like this guy behind me, okay? You do not put this guy against a party, a 7th, 8th, or 9th level party. Now, a lot of parties will go, oh, I can take him out. But remember something. Dragons are unique. Creatures, monsters in general are unique. Okay. There are different forms of, like, I can introduce a orc into a camp with 10 orcs, and your party may defeat them. Because they're just, there's a roving band of orcs. Oh, look, Hunams. Let's go get their goods. Okay, and you might defeat them. Okay, now, one of them escapes, meets up with a stronger band. This band is led by a shaman. Maybe he's 3rd or 4th level. Maybe he's 5th level. He's got a couple of goblin blackguard with him, and the rest are just orcs, and there's an ogre with them. And now you run into that party again, and now there's real trouble, because now these guys have magic. They have a big guy in the ogre. They've got those blackguards with them. I think that's what they're called, goblin blackguards. And you're in trouble. Your cleric's been assassinated, and your bard has been taken out by a lightning bolt. Oops. So there you have it. I mean, it's really that simple. A lot of people think that orcs, goblins, my favorite monsters are the orcs, the goblins, the kobolds, the gnolls, the hobgoblins, things like that. And with the one book that came out, you can get it on DriveThruRPG, and it's called The Expanded Monster Manual. That thing has orcs and goblins that are just out of control, and kobolds. The dragon scale kobolds in there. And there's a lot. And this is all 5th edition stuff. That's been given the blessing of the Dungeons and Dragons folks, that you can create. And so be careful when you create these monster characters, because eventually everything that you can do, a DM can do. So don't give them too many great ideas, because wow, you might just live to regret it, or you might just die and then regret it. Not quite sure how that works out. But anyway, so that's my spiel for today. Remember, these books are pretty much what you need to play. As a player, the Player's Handbook is phenomenal to have. The Monster Manual has a lot of cool monsters in it. And there's other monster manuals. There are more than just, but this is a nice start. And of course, if you want to run a game, there's nothing quite like the Dungeon Master's Guide to help you out. Even if there's questions that, you may not even have thought of, just kind of, I like to look through it and, oh yeah, I remember that. Weather, things like that. Merchants, NPCs, they're all in there. Don't forget the Glenn Fallow series, Death Comes to Glenn Fallow, by William S. Quinton. And I will leave it at that. If you ever have questions, I'm at the Collective on Fridays from usually 1 to 2. And I stop in from time to time. You always come say hi, hello, how you doing? How you doing? And we'll keep it simple today and leave it at that. So, may the road always rise up to meet your feet, and may all your adventures end in glory. This is John from John's Dungeon Corner signing off. Oh, and my friend Bob. Bob. I'll see you guys next Friday.
We love Bob. How are you, sir? How'd the week go?
Good. Let me end this broadcast. I bet you're still broadcasting.